Ha. You ever notice how silence can scream louder than words? It's funny, isn't it? One moment the world is laughing, talking, pretending they're in control. And then you speak. Just 5 words, that's all it took. Suddenly the air tightens, the room freezes, and every eye turns toward you like you've just broken the code they all agreed to live by. They can't figure out what just happened. Who gave you the power to shift the whole atmosphere with a sentence? Oh, they don't like that. Not one bit, because deep down, they know the truth power isn't owned by those who shout. It belongs to the one who knows when to whisper. And in that moment, when they realize you've rewritten the rules, they don't know whether to clap or run. Power isn't taken. It's revealed when everyone stops pretending. You see, they spend their lives chasing power like it's a crown made of gold. But the truth is, it's made of glass. Fragile, see-through, and easily broken. Everyone wants to look like they have it, but no one really wants to hold it. Because when you truly hold it, everyone else sees themselves in the reflection, and that scares them. They build systems, titles, hierarchies, suits, and smiles to hide their fear. They call it order, but it's really panic disguised as professionalism. They create this illusion that power must be earned, approved, or given, but the joke is, it's always been inside the one who didn't ask for permission. When you walk into a room, and you know who you are, that's when their act begins to crumble. You don't raise your voice, you don't demand respect, you breathe, and the whole place feels it. The fake ones start fidgeting, the confident ones start sweating, and the loud ones suddenly go quiet, because they sense it. That unspoken energy that doesn't need validation. Power isn't loud, it's unnervingly calm. It's the kind of silence that makes people question if they should still be talking. And when they realize that, it's already too late. You've already shifted the balance without even trying. They've been pretending for so long, pretending to lead, pretending to inspire, pretending to matter. You speak 5 words, and their carefully constructed masks begin to crack. Their authority was never real. It was borrowed from fear, from rules, from applause. But when someone walks in with nothing to prove and everything to expose, the illusion collapses like paper in fire. You don't need to fight them. You just need to exist in their presence long enough for the truth to reveal itself. That's what power does. It doesn't roar. It reveals. It exposes what's fake. It uncovers the trembling hands behind the confident handshake, the insecurity behind the laughter, the emptiness behind their authority. The crowd senses it before their brains can process it. That's why they freeze. Because for the first time, they're looking at someone who doesn't play their game, who doesn't flinch when stared at, who doesn't bow when threatened. They're not used to that. They're used to control, but not conviction. You see, the moment everyone stops pretending, power shifts. The leader isn't the one with the biggest stage. It's the one who no longer fears losing it. The crowd doesn't follow the one who speaks the loudest. They follow the one who feels real. The world has been hungry for authenticity, but authenticity scares the pretenders. Because it burns through the lies they've built like sunlight through smoke. That's why when you spoke those 5 words, the entire network froze. It wasn't confusion. It was revelation. They saw the mirror and didn't like what it showed. You didn't take their power. You just stopped pretending that they had any over you. That's the secret. Power isn't something you grab. It's what you release when you no longer need approval. It's in your eyes when you stop performing. It's in your tone when you stop apologizing. It's in your silence when they expect you to explain yourself. That's when real authority is born. in the stillness that follows your truth. And when you finally realize that, when you stop chasing crowns and start carrying your chaos with grace, the world doesn't know how to process it. They freeze. They whisper. They stare. Because now they're wondering who's really in charge. Fear is the best kind of silence. It listens more than it speaks. You see, most people think fear is noise. Screams, panic, the sound of chaos. But no, real fear, it's quiet. It's that sharp inhale before a storm. The split second before everything breaks. That's when you can hear everything. The heartbeat behind the mask. The lies trembling on their tongues. The thoughts they try so hard to bury. Fear doesn't speak, it observes. It studies. It remembers. And that's what makes it dangerous. The loud ones, the confident ones, they never scare me. It's the quiet ones. The ones who look like they've already made peace with the madness. They're the ones who've seen too much to flinch anymore.
You know what's funny?
People spend their lives running from fear as if it's some disease, when in truth, it's the only thing that ever told them the truth. Fear doesn't lie to you. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't play nice. It tells you exactly what you're afraid to admit. That control is an illusion. That comfort is a cage. That everything you built can fall apart in a single second. And if you listen closely enough, fear becomes your greatest teacher. It strips you bare, takes away your excuses, leaves you staring into your own reflection until you stop pretending. That's when silence becomes powerful, when it's filled with the weight of realization. Fear listens to the things you try to ignore. It hears the pulse of your insecurities, the cracks in your confidence, the whispers of doubt in every plan you make. It listens patiently, waiting for you to acknowledge it. Because fear doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to awaken you. But people mistake awakening for pain, so they numb themselves. They hide behind smiles, scroll through noise, drown in distractions, all to avoid the sound of silence that fear brings. But here's the thing. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. And fear is the one emotion that forces you to sit still long enough to hear them. When you stand in a room full of people, and you can feel their fear without them saying a word, that's when you know who's in control. Not the loudest one, not the one barking orders or flashing titles. The real power belongs to the one who listens, who senses the tremors in the air, who can feel the energy shift before a single word is spoken. Fear makes people predictable. It reveals what they value, what they'll protect, what they'll betray to survive. And if you learn to listen instead of react, the world becomes transparent. Every move they make is written in their silence. Every lie is betrayed by their stillness. The most terrifying silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of awareness. When someone has seen through the illusion, they don't need to speak. Their eyes say it all. That's why people get uncomfortable when you look at them too long. They feel seen. Not in the romantic, poetic way, no. They feel exposed. Because fear begins to whisper the truth inside them. They're not as strong, not as certain, not as in control as they pretend to be. And the moment they realize you can sense that, they crumble. That's the power of fear's silence. It disarms without effort. Fear listens more than it speaks, because it doesn't need to explain itself. It knows its value. It doesn't shout, it waits. It's patient. It watches people reveal who they are when they think no one's listening. It's in the hesitation before they make a move, in the slight quiver of their tone, in the half-second pause between their words. That's where truth hides, not in the speeches, but in the spaces between them. And once you learn to hear that silence, once you stop being afraid of fear itself, you stop reacting and start understanding. They'll call you cold, detached, heartless. Let them. Because what they really mean is that your silence scares them. They can't read you anymore. Their words bounce off you, their threats lose meaning. You've become the very thing they tried to control. Unpredictable, calm, dangerous. Fear used to own you, now you own it. And when fear listens through you, the whole world listens too, because deep down, every soul recognizes it. That soundless hum of truth that reminds them they were never in charge of anything at all. Control isn't in the voice, it's in the pause after you speak. That's the moment they reveal everything. When the words have already left your lips and silence steps in to finish the job. People think control comes from dominance, from shouting louder, from forcing obedience. But that's just noise. Real control is quieter, subtler. It lives in the stillness that follows your words. The pause makes them wonder. It makes them question. It makes them fill the silence with their own insecurities. And that's where power hides. Not in what you say, but in what you make them think you might say next. Every conversation is a battlefield. Most people rush to fill the air, afraid of that dreadful quiet, afraid of losing the upper hand. They talk and talk, mistaking noise for authority, but every word they speak is a confession of their desperation to be heard. The ones who truly hold control don't fight for attention. They let attention come to them. They know that silence is a mirror. It reflects everyone's truth. When you stop speaking, they start revealing. You'll see it in their eyes, in the way they shift, in the way their breath catches. The pause after your words becomes a stage where their fear performs. Control isn't about manipulation, it's about presence. It's about knowing that when you speak, the world listens. Not because you demand it, but because they can't ignore it. That kind of control doesn't come from volume. It comes from certainty. When you know what you stand for, you don't have to defend it with noise. You drop your truth like a stone into a still pond and let the ripples do the rest. The silence that follows tells you more about your impact than applause ever could. If they rush to speak, they're unsettled. If they stay quiet, they're processing. Either way, you've already won. Most people are terrified of silence because it forces them to meet themselves. When the noise stops, they can finally hear their own doubts echoing back at them. That's why they rush to fill every pause, because silence exposes them. But you learn to live in it. You make it your ally. You let your words hang in the air like smoke, twisting, lingering, suffocating everything fake. You don't rush to explain or justify. You let them drown in the weight of what you've said. Because deep down, they know there's nothing left to argue. The pause after your truth becomes the proof of your control. Control doesn't come from force. It comes from rhythm. It's like music. The power isn't in the notes. It's in the space between them. The breath between sentences. The stillness between chaos. The way the world holds its breath, waiting for your next move. That's real command. It's not about making people fear you. It's about making them feel you, long after you've stopped talking. That's why some words echo for years, because the silence after them carried more weight than the sound itself. People will try to provoke you, to pull words out of you, to make you react. They'll mistake your quiet for weakness, your patience for hesitation. But what they don't understand is that you're not withholding words. You're watching. You're studying. You're letting them expose their own strategy while you sit there, calm, unshaken. The pause is your weapon. Every second you don't respond, they lose composure. Their confidence cracks. Their need for control betrays them. And when you finally decide to speak again, every syllable lands like thunder. The pause after you speak is the purest form of power because it demands faith in yourself, in your message, in your ability to stand unshaken while the world fidgets. It's easy to talk. It's hard to wait. The weak rush to fill the air. The strong let the silence do the talking. When you learn that, when you stop fearing the spaces between your words, you become untouchable. Because silence cannot be interrupted, and real control can't be challenged by noise. In that quiet, in that heartbeat between sentences, they realize something they'll never admit out loud. You were never reacting to them. They were always reacting to you. They'll mock you until they realize you meant every word. That's the way it always goes, doesn't it? They laugh because they're afraid. They laugh because it's easier than listening. They laugh because deep down, they know you're right, and it terrifies them. The world doesn't know how to handle conviction anymore. Everyone wants to look brave without ever taking a risk, sound smart without saying anything real, appear powerful without standing for anything that costs them. So when someone like you walks in and speaks truth without flinching, they don't know what to do with it. They call it arrogance, madness, delusion, anything to make themselves feel safe again. Mockery is their defense mechanism. It's how they hide from their own reflection. They'll laugh at your voice because they can't handle what it stirs inside them. They'll twist your words, quote them out of context, paint you as the fool, the rebel, the villain, and you'll let them. Because you know something they don't. Laughter doesn't weaken truth. It only amplifies it. Every joke they make, every smirk they throw your way, every whisper behind your back, it all adds fuel to the fire you were already building. They think they're burning you, but all they're doing is lighting the match for your rise. You see, they mock what they don't understand, and they fear what they can't control. The moment you speak something real, something raw, something that doesn't fit inside their neat little world of comfort, they'll try to label you. Because once they label you, they don't have to face you. Phrasy? Obsessed. Too much. Too dark. They use words like bandages to cover their own insecurity. But underneath that laughter, behind those fake smiles, they feel it. The shift. They know something inside them just cracked. Because when truth hits, it doesn't ask for permission. It gets under their skin, echoes in their head, keeps them awake at night. The first time you speak your truth, they mock you. The second time, they avoid you. The third time, they start to listen. And by the fourth, they follow in silence, pretending they believed all along. That's the pattern. You'll see it again and again. Every great voice, every real leader, every soul that ever dared to break the script was first called a joke. Because the crowd only respects what it fears, and fear doesn't come with applause at first. It comes with laughter. So let them laugh. Let them think it's all just talk. Because when you act, when you keep going without blinking, when you refuse to fold under their noise, that's when they realize you were never playing. They mock you because they can't match your conviction. They live for the approval of others, and you live for the truth itself. They bend to fit in, you bend reality instead. You don't need to convince them. You don't need to shout. You just need to keep speaking with the kind of certainty that can't be faked. Because one day, that same laughter that tried to bury you will turn into silence, not out of respect, but out of realization. They'll finally see that every word you said, every warning, every sentence they dismissed as madness was prophecy. When they laughed, they thought they were protecting their pride, but they were just revealing their weakness. They needed the noise to drown out the feeling that they were wrong. You didn't need the noise. You just needed the moment. Because the truth doesn't need to convince anyone. It just needs time. And when time finally exposes them, when the laughter dies and the truth stands tall, they'll remember your words. They'll remember how calm you were when they tried to tear you down. And in that quiet moment,